Dark Souls 2, the game that is considered to be not the best out of the series. But it doesn't mean that the speedrun of it won't be interesting. Because the game came out 8 years ago, runners have found so many glitches that killing bosses became not even necessary. This is why meme runs have appeared, where people beat the game backwards, from the last boss to the first. In our case, we will have only 3 of those. Our hero's name is Stennis, and he will be competing in any percent category. Our speedrun begins in a location which plays the role of the introduction and teaches the basics of the game. This location is not that interesting for us. This is why the runner takes off his clothes, to make himself go faster. He crosses his hands as if holding a two-handed weapon. Now pay attention to this board. This means that the left hand is your main hand. It's important because this way, it's possible to make our hero run faster. And it's not even a glitch, by the way. It is more like a feature of the game that is used in all categories. Another critical moment is about stamina. While running, it is being used very quickly, and the runner tries to control it, so it never reaches 0. This is done because after entirely wasting your stamina, its regeneration slows down gradually, telling the player that the character is exhausted and needs to have a break. But for now, I will tell you a couple of things about character creation. When the runner has reached the hut, the game lets him choose a name, class, and a starting gift. In our case, the gift is a health ring, which passively regenerates hit points. Our class is Explorer, because he owns a lot of different items that will be useful during the run. Just like this coin, for example. While jumping off the stairs, the runner spams the button to use the item, so that after landing, a particular animation was played. However, this item usage animation won't be common. This one is broken. Because of this, the stamina won't be used while running. And now the runner does not have to pay attention to it and do whatever he wants. For about 10 seconds. Well, it was kinda worth it, because this helps him quickly get to the next location. Majula. The runner jumps off this cliff and lands right about here to pick up these binoculars. And oh god, look at that speed! This is a trick the speedrun community calls the Bino boost. To make it happen, the runner uses binoculars, rolls, and then hits a blank air, and after that, quits from aiming mode while completing the rolling animation. This way, you can completely cancel the attack. Because of it, movement speed would become several times faster than the speed of simple running. However, you need to understand that this effect lasts for about 3 seconds, and this is if the timing is right. Because if you miss, then the stunt duration will be shorter, and it will need to be used more often. But it's not a problem for an experienced runner. Now let's snap back to Majula. Runner lights up the bonfire and talks with Emerald Herald, from whom he gets an Estus flask. Then he moves on to the dark forest. And now you might ask why? Because the route to the forest is blocked by a petrified woman, and the runner does not have a fragrant branch to disenchant her. That is true, but he wouldn't need it anyway. Instead, the runner gets to a room with a goblin, kills it, and then does some magic, which allows him to get into the Out of Bonds. This trick was called Parry walk. Let's try to figure out how it works. It's all about the mechanics of finishers in the second part. Unlike Dark Souls 1, in this part, enemies fall on their backs after a parry, which allows the player to finish them. This is where the main vulnerability hides. While executing a finisher, the game lifts the character a bit, and if the finisher and the roll are active at the same time, the animation will be cut off, but the character will rise anyway. Because of this, the character would be able to fly, and even go through thin objects. However, some physics of the engine continue working. I'm talking about floor and ceiling collisions, which won't let the player move freely in the air. But it's not a problem anyway, because in Dark Souls 2, characters can jump. This is precisely what helps the speedrun gain height, or lose if needed. So, after a runner performs a parry walk on the goblin, he turns around and jumps on this broken pillar to get some altitude, then goes around the tower to the ladder. This ladder is something like a limiter, which a runner uses to gain more height. He needs to do 7 jumps in particular. After it's done, he runs in the opposite direction and gains height slowly until he reaches the right one, which was set by the number of jumps he did under the ladder. This allows him to run above the dark forest and land on the ground right next to the bonfire. Runner lights up the bonfire and goes right to the entrance of the Winter Shrine. After that, he goes to this hill, where he can easily perform another parry walk. It is the perfect place, because it is located decently high up and has this tree, which helps him get 11 jumps. After this, he gets thrown all across the location to another tree. You need to touch it, by the way. It will help the game to load some of the items. Thanks to it, the runner can now navigate where he is and gets thrown into the keep. Inside it, everything would be rather common. Runner goes up and pulls the ring. Then he knocks off the painting for the goblin to come out. Runner uses him again to pull another parry walk, and then walks around the boss right to the dragon. Where he picks up 20,000 souls and a dragon's little tooth, which would be our weapon. Now we have these two guys. These two guys. They wouldn't usually be a problem, but this man is naked and he needs to open the store. The runner needs to fool them by running to the very left. One of the guys gets confused and tries to go around his buddy. Thanks to it, the runner gets an opportunity to open the store and go. Even though this one was very close to sending Stennis into the Shadow Realm, thankfully, that didn't happen. Which means that the runner can now go and talk with the dragon that gives the player an important item. Talking about important things, our runner needs some skills. So he teleports back to Majula, opens the inventory, uses the shiny soul, and while the animation is playing, he closes the menu and drops it. This way, the runner gets a free duplicate of the used soul. 40,000 would be just enough to boost the character's dexterity up to 10 and strength up to 27, exactly how much the runner needs to use the dragon's tooth. And now, he's ready to kick ass and chew bubblegum. So, he goes to the Forest of the Giants and performs another parry walk on some poor soul. Thanks to this, he runs through all the location to this tree, which appears to be the path to Jay's memory, where a boss is waiting for us. This one is, unfortunately, required to finish the game, but he won't cause any problems if staying next to his legs and dodging his attacks. To get to the final location, runner needs to get to the Dark Forest, so guess what? Another parry walk. After this, the runner goes in the direction of the castle. Then he needs to get to the final location, so another parry walk. However, this one is a bit different. The runner needs to go to the direction of that rock by a very specific yet straightforward route, because if he moves a little bit to the left, he dies. Quite an unfortunate event if that were to happen. On the left, the runner goes only after hitting the rock, and after a short sprint, the game throws the character out by itself. After entering the Throne of Wand, the second boss fight begins. Runner has a unique trick for this fight. He goes right about here and blocks, which causes Throne Watcher to become very angry, and he attempts to hit the player but slips up and falls into the void. For the second boss, the runner takes a more traditional approach. Now for the exciting part. The runner sprints to the center of the location. Here, he uses binoculars as intended and aims so that the upper and left panels of the inventory match the curves of this arch. After, he waits for the message to disappear, then does a forward roll and spams the throwing of the witching urn and skipping the cutscene at the same time. If done correctly, the boss will be stunned. No one can explain why this happens, as the community discovered this glitch by accident. There is a theory that this has to do with the information processing sequence, and after throwing the witching urn, the game cannot assign AI to the boss properly. And after a glorious fight with Nishandra, Stennis uses the dark sign. 13 minutes and 52 seconds. The best result in any percent category on the old version of the game. There are runs on the new version as well, but they are not that interesting. This happened because developers nerfed a lot of cool tricks, such as our beloved parry walk. You can always find the link of the original in the description. But that's all I got. Check out my other videos and see you next time.